In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 looping techniques. They're going to get you looping like a pro. So tip number 1 is to... Now, if you're a musician, if you're a vocalist, if you're a performer, you probably know timing already, whether you're strumming a guitar or if you're singing along with a band or a cover song or you're playing any instrument, you know timing because you're playing along with others, or if you're a solo artist, you know the timing for yourself. Now, I'm not here to patronize any performers or artists regarding their timing. I'm just letting you be aware that timing is the most important thing when it comes to looping. So let's take the element of time and put it into a loop. So you need a good foundation loop to begin with, whether that's 1 bar, whether it's 4 bars. If you're just creating a beat or if you're creating an entire choir of people in a loop, then you're going to need that bit of timing to help you out. If a loop is off by a couple of fractions of a second, it's really noticeable, and the audience, if you're playing live, or even the audience if you're playing to a video, it's they're really aware of it, and it's just slightly off. You don't get that good groove, that good feel. Now, a couple of friends of mine have come up to me in the past and said looping is quite difficult to begin with. You actually know timing, as I say, by strumming a guitar or playing keyboards or singing along. So let me show you what I mean about timing. So in regards to looping live, I play predominantly with a guitar, and I can make beats either with my vocals or with the guitar. So the simplest one is strumming for the guitar. So if you think about, obviously, if you're playing a chord, you're playing... Think about that as like a 4-bar loop. But if I break that down, then I'm going without the chords. Now that could be the foundation for a loop, so I'm going to break this down even further. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on the downbeat, beat 1, bar 1, that's where you're going to press record. Now if I'm playing guitar, my hands are not free, so I can't use an app to press the button, so I can use either a metronome to kick me in, like a count in, or what I could do is I can have things like a pedal board and use my feet. Also, for me, what I wouldn't do is go straight into looping right there. I would actually probably just strum for about 2 bars or even 1 bar just to get my sense of rhythm before I press the button. 1, 2, 3, 4, press and press, and then that's already looped in, and you've got a sense of rhythm, a sense of groove there already. So no matter whether you're singing, you're using an instrument, you're playing the saxophone, you're playing guitar, whichever, you're even playing drums, then if you're doing 3/4, 4/4, 6/8, 7/8, whichever time signature it is, you're going to need to have that groove in your head, and then beat 1, bar 1 is where you press the record button. Either you're doing that with an app or you're doing that with the pedal. So when I'm playing live, I predominantly will get some kind of foundation loop, whether I'm just going to go ding, 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 or I get with my mouth, just so I've got some kind of foundation so I can start the groove. Now with apps, things like Loopy HD, Quantaloop, and other apps that are out there like L7, and also with pedal boards, they can also include a metronome, and even some of them have beats built in. Some apps and some pedal boards will even let you route the metronome to a set of headphones where the audience can't hear it. But if you're looking to just practice and just get into looping, then being able to practice with a metronome, sometimes a metronome can be quite boring, and if it's slow, it can be quite a gap between the clicks. So if you've got an option where you can use it with a beat, where there is a beat built in, I would certainly use that to begin with. So tip number 2 is know your looper. There are loads of loopers out there, whether they're on software with iPad or Android or iPhone. There's hardware loopers, 1 single phrase looper, 3 phrase, 4 phrase, 5 phrase loopers. There's loopers in DAWs now as well. It's a minefield. So if you do pick a looper, whether you're using a software one just to get started, or if you do invest into a hardware looper, all I would say is get to know it really, really well. The reason is because if you get to know that looper really, really well, there's 2 things that will happen. If you then upgrade to a bigger looper or your different looper, you can transfer those skills from rhythm techniques, pressing buttons, knowing how to overdub onto another looper. Loopers are predominantly the same when it comes to the basics. The second reason is because you'll get really good at it and you'll know your own looper. So my number 1 tip with knowing your looper is find where the undo button is. I'm not joking when I say this. Everyone wants the perfect loop, but no one will get the perfect loop 100% of the time. Even Ed Sheeran has actually cancelled a loop on stage, and the audience didn't notice because he did it very, very well. But loads of people can actually mess up a loop. I've had my loops messed up. I've deleted my loops by accident in front of the audience while it's rocking on stage, and all of a sudden, boom, it's gone, and I'm just there with just the acoustic guitar playing. So everyone can make mistakes. One or two really cheap loopers don't have an undo. They'll just have a clear, and you have to do the whole thing again. I would really, really encourage you to maybe spend that extra little bit of money if you're going into hardware looper. Make sure you have one that does undo. I've done it loads in a live environment where I've had the loop for the foundation loop, I've had loads of loops on top, I've got harmonies and everything else, and then this loop here on the overdub is completely wrong. I don't know, sung the wrong key, or I've messed up on the guitar. And to be able to get rid of just that one loop and go back one is a godsend. If you have to then undo all of that and do it all over again, it's embarrassing, certainly on live on stage. Also, with Know Your Looper is where things are in general. So if you've got a one phrase looper with one pedal on it, it's quite simple to understand. Don't throw away the manual, pick the manual up or download the manual and understand that looper. I've now got a looper which looks like Darth Vader's pedal board, which is the Headrush looper board, and it's huge and it's got loads inside it. It's got effects as well as looping, and it's got multiple ins, multiple outs, and I had to actually go back to basics with it and understand where the routing is, because you can route a loop to an effect and then route that effect out to somewhere else. So I had to understand that in order to play with it live. You put effort into your instruments. Your looper is an instrument. Tip number 3, this is a big one: deconstruct the song. What on earth am I talking about deconstructing a song? I thought we were building a song up with a looper. Well, you can, but there's a couple of tips within this tip that I want to give you. Now, if you're making a video for YouTube, for example, and you want to create a loop, you can spend as long as you want on it. Now, whether people will sit there and watch a 15-minute video for a song that actually is only 4 minutes long, while you sit there and build up your loops. So you could build up the bass, the drum, the kick, the hi-hat, vocal harmony 1, vocal harmony 2. Then we need to put the chorus in because we've got in that second phrase, and it's been 4 or 5 minutes and you haven't even sung the first verse yet. Now, for people who want to watch how that is constructed, it is really, really interesting, and things like on YouTube or any other social media, that's really, really good. However, there's people who will not want to watch it. They just want to hear your version of that cover or your version of that song, and if it, by about 2 or 3 minutes, if they haven't started hearing the lyrics, they'll leave. That's on social media and a video. Let's transform that into a live environment. I play in pubs and clubs, and in pubs specifically, you're predominantly playing covers and you're playing other people's songs. There was a time where I was looking at looping and I needed to make everything right and everything there, so the looping was all done and then I could sing the song. What a mistake that was. I actually had someone go, "Come on, mate," whilst I was creating the loops. I was going, well, it's not ready yet. It's almost like I was creating the backing track, the whole backing track, before I then sung the song, and they were actually starting to sing it themselves. They actually got bored. So to help you with this and to help the audience still be entertained, and also for you so it doesn't take as long, is deconstruct the loop. So think about all the bits you want to put in the looper, and then start pulling it apart. So for example, there's a song that I would do and I would maybe put 1, 2, 3 loops in, and then I'll start singing the verse. Now there's other bits that can go into that verse, but I might add them in verse 2. It also keeps it more interesting. If you add everything in, you've got nothing more to give other than take it away again. I hope I am coming across here where I say this, where if there are people who have paid to see you, they are sat down and they are literally focused on you, you take as much time as you want with your craft. I'm not obviously saying that you shouldn't do that, because that is your craft, that's what people have paid to come and see. However, an environment where you're being paid as the entertainment to play other people's music, they want to hear it. They want to hear that music and they want to hear it now. But don't let this panic you. Create your own version. People will be really, really happy with this. And as long as you've got the initial groove, if I then started playing one song in a completely different genre, it would feel a bit weird on a Saturday night when people are just trying to get up and have a dance. But at the same time, putting your own spin on things can actually work in your advantage. This is why for me, with a multi-phrase looper, I will actually split the multi-phrase looper up. So I won't just put anything anywhere, it's actually planned. So on phrase number 1, I would normally put the foundation loop and any other rhythm looping. Phrase number 2 is normally the bass and anything that's at the low end. And phrase number 3 is normally harmonies or playing around with chords with the guitar. By breaking this up and deconstructing the loop into its parts, I can actually take bits out. So if I'm doing a bit of a breakdown, I could take out the drums without worrying about like the bass or the vocals, and they're still going. But also at the same time, it means I can add things a little bit later on, and then I could switch that back off. Say if it's not for the bridge, I can turn that off, but then the drums are still going, so it's a different chord sequence. Which leads me nicely onto our next tip. This is tip number 4, but I'm going to call it sort of tip number 4 stroke 3B, because it's still part of Deconstruct the Song, but it is at the 4th tip, which is chord progression. Now, if you just start out with looping, there's loads of songs that are 3 chords long all the way through. There's songs that are even 2 chords all the way through, and that's fine, no problem at all. But if there's songs where they have a series of chords for the verse and they have another series of chords for the chorus and then there's another series of chords for the bridge, then the looper can only be used in part for some of that song. Now, with other loopers that are multi-phrase loopers, you can set them up into what we call serial mode, which means phrase number 1 is the verse, phrase number 2 is the chorus, and phrase number 3 is the bridge. Again, in a live environment, it's a long time to set up. So what we can do is be a little bit clever with the looper and use it to our advantage. If you've got something like the Boss RC30, which is one of the most popular loopers most people go for when they try and get into looping, it has 2 phrases. So you can say on phrase 1, we can put all the rhythm section, all the drums, all the hi-hats, anything you need there. Now in phrase 2, what we can do is we can actually put in the chorus chords, and only the chorus chords. We're not putting in the verse straight away. Now this sounds a little bit weird, we're going to jump straight to the chorus in a song, but if you actually lay them down and then turn them off, then you can reintroduce it once you've done verse 1. This gives a little bit more of a dynamic to the loop, and also it reintroduces a little bit of push and power, so the volume goes up a little bit for the chorus. There may be harmonies in there where people can sing along to. It just makes it a little bit more fun. Now if your looper is a 1-phrase looper and you don't have a 2-phrase looper, you technically kind of do, because you have an undo. And like I said before, learn where that undo is, because most undos have a redo. What was that? If you're doing a phrase with all the beats and all the rhythm section, that's the phrase, by the way. And then open the loop again, record the loop again, so you're in overdub mode. And then in overdub mode, what you're going to do is you're going to put your chorus on top. And then when you undo, you can take that away. So this keeps going and you're playing your verse, and then you hit redo, and then in the chorus, that comes back again. Pretty much every looper, as long as it's got an undo and redo, kind of has 2 phrases. You've just got to be a little bit smart with it. Now one thing is, if you are able to record your loops, then you can distribute them. And our sponsor today is DistroKid. They have a fantastic way where you can distribute all your songs, as many as you want, including covers, for one price per year. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can do that, but also if you're in a band or a duo or a trio and you want to distribute the money evenly, there's a thing called teams. And I'm going to show you how that works. When you log into your account on distrokid.com, what you can do is you can automatically route any percentage of your earnings from any track to anyone. You add your collaborators, your producers, your bandmates and managers and more, and then DistroKid will actually sort out the payment for you. Let me show you what I mean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a release. Now I look after Tokyo Wasteland, which is our band, but also myself, and I was in another band which is called the Black Bag Project. So if I was to go to the Black Bag Project for an example, I would click next. So what this has brought up is the Black Bag Project with the 6 tracks that we did, and there's me and my colleague Chris, and what we can do is I've got ours 100% right now, and we're going to add Chris in. So all we do is we go add new team member, and if you've got their details already, all you need is their email address, and then you select the percentage. So me and Chris are 50-50 on this, and that makes 100%, and we can add that person in. Now I already have Chris's email address in there now, so what I can do is I can just add that in and then just review the changes, and that's it. So now we've done this, it just gives you a review page, and to verify the team, confirm it with a password, and now the project is saved. So DistroKid have a great way of you uploading for one price per year, and that's the musician price, which is $19.99, and that is for one artist or one band. There's also Musician Plus, so if you're a band member, like I'm a solo artist, but also I'm in one band, you can have 2 artists or 2 band names, or you can even go as far as Label, which is $80 a year, and that'll give you 5+ artists and 5 band names a year, and it's a saving of up to 40%. Now, I've done a special deal with DistroKid for this year, which is to give you 7% off your annual membership for the first year, no matter which tier you pick. So I'm going to put that on the screen now. It's also in the description box below. So if you click that link, you'll be able to get 7% off these prices for an entire year. And finally, tip number 5. Practice, practice, practice. I know it's not what you want to hear, but practice makes you more comfortable with a looper. You'll know where your pedals are, and what I mean by that is if you've got a really big looper like the Headrush pedal board, or you've got an RC505, or you've got even like Loopy HD with loads of circles going around, by practicing with it more and more, you'll know where things are. Just like if you know what notes are on a fretboard or where your notes are on a saxophone. A looper has to be looked at like an instrument, and you've got to understand it and you've got to practice with it. It's as simple as that. The more you play with it, the more comfortable you'll get. All these skills are transferable. So whether you know your looper, you are practicing with looping in general, and all these other bits about knowing timing, it doesn't matter what looper you have, where you can actually loop really, really well. I've seen some amazing loops with a 1-phrase looper and been really creative with it. All I would say is all these skills are transferable no matter which looper you use, whether you're using a hardware looper, a software looper, or even a looper in a DAW. I made a massive mistake when I went from an RC30 to an RC300. That wasn't a mistake. They're both amazing pedal boards, but I thought I knew it. I just thought, well, the RC300 is a bigger version of the RC30, threw it in the pedal board, went to a gig, and for 25 minutes setting up, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and it wasn't saving in the right way, and that's because I had it in the wrong mode, because it can do serial mode as well as normal looping mode. So know your looper, understand it, transfer the skills over from one to another, but take a step back, and maybe in that gig really I should have gone with the RC30 and then taken a step back and recorded and taken time and practiced with the RC300 first. I have done loads of videos all about looping. This channel is about looping as well as music tech. So I've got a playlist all about different looping from the RC300 right through to the Headrush, right through to Loopy HD, Quantaloop, L7, the list goes on. And that is a playlist that's up now right there, and if you want to give it a click, then you can go through that at your leisure. I hope you found the content of this video useful, and if you have, give it a thumbs up. That really helps me and helps the channel grow. If you've seen a couple of my videos, then maybe consider subscribing to the channel as well. Hit that bell and you'll know when the next video goes live. And if you want to support me a little bit further, you can do. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. All the links are in the description box below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.